Hey Jeff, how are you doing?
Hey Frank, you're back on. Nice.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed. It looks like we're back on again.
Perfect.
And, all right. Let's wait until we get a couple more people on. So I have not received an official notice that it's fixed. The technician's supposed to send me a text message, but I haven't received that yet, but it looks like it's back up and running again.
I gotta feel it was the Anno gods that cursed us.
You know, what's so interesting is that after I got off the meeting and closed it all out, I had a call from one of my clients who was the second client that we did the replacement for the Anno on. And he was calling about something else. And I said, so by the way, I was just having a discussion. I said, how is that working for you? And he was like, oh my gosh, my people love the fact that we're not doing Anno anymore, that we're using points, because this way he provides the ability for non-mappers to go and actually change the dimensions on that appear on the map. So in Wisconsin, this is in Wisconsin, they have actual mappers, and then they have what they call listers. These listers actually go and review the documents and make sure that they're in full compliance. So they allow the listers to go and modify the points to show the dimensions for all the web maps. And he's like, we love it. You don't have to, they don't even have to have ArcGIS Pro to go and modify those Anno points. So just to let you know, I am not going to go and challenge the Anno gods anymore. All right, I'm done. That's it. So we're not even going to say that word at all. So this shall be the character whose names we shall not mention. All right. All right. So, and we still have a couple people missing, so hopefully we can pull them back in. Let's go and just sort of start here with, let me go back here to the shared folder that we have, and you'll see that actually I have the two recordings from yesterday and the recording from this morning where we started getting up to that point. So that's the recording if you really want that. Also, however, you will see I have a new folder inside that Dropbox called shared documents or sample documents. We have some documents in here. Thank you all whoever went and sent them over. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have something to do, including one in which we have a request here to do a spiral curve. All right. Because I sort of just passed over that. Matter of fact, it's not even in the slides. I passed over spiral curves. We were talking about radius 2, and for the parts of the country that I am dealing with, for the most part, we don't use much spiral curves unless you're doing a big highway or something. But in fact, there are some in here. So let's review spiral curves and how you actually go and input those. All right, let me go just so I can see this. Let me go and open up on another screen.
Frank?
Yes.
With that information, is that something that we're going to be expected to get to soon? Because our IT does not allow us to download. We have to go through them to get the stuff from your Dropbox.
So the information that's in the sample documents right now are things that we probably will be using today. what I can do is I can go and zip it up and then attach that zip file to the email, because this is not going to be, it's not very large. It's just some sample documents. Let me make sure that we'll go and open it up. Sorry again. Let's see how big this winds up becoming. It's 31 megs. So there are some large files in here. There's some subdivision files in here. I can send it and it actually will go and link over to another one that will not be Dropbox. So let me go and do that while we're on the phone right now. Technology. Sorry for this. All right. It's even telling me this is too big a file to put in there.
I don't know if it would make a difference, but if it's just Donna and I who are going to have the issue, if we left out just the Polk County documents, would it make it small enough?
Let's see here. So this one, so with the Polk County, is that these CSs?
Yeah, I believe the CSs and also the BOR. And there's a good chance that the BOR and the 294, 296, those look familiar. SB 1616 too. Other than the spiral curve, I don't know if we would need any of the others.
Yeah, even that spiral curve document though is 13 megs, even though it really doesn't have to be that big. It's just an image. Let me go and sorry. I'm going to see if I can make that smaller. You get to see export it out.
If it was up on the screen, maybe we could just screenshot it and use it that way. I don't know.
Yep. Let me see if this makes it any easier. Yeah. Make sure it's a little bit blurry, but it's at least acceptable here. And again, really all we're going to do is we're going to focus on this spiral curve area and how it's actually represented on in ArcGIS Pro. Okay. All right. So inside of ArcGIS Pro, let's get in here again. Let's go to creating some lines, and we're going to start with a line. In Pro, there are a couple of constraints on how to create things. There is a direction where you just have you set the bearing, a distance. There's absolute XYZ. There's delta XYZ. There's direction, distance. There's circular curve, and then there's a spiral curve. All right. The spiral curve uses, in fact, a version similar to what you have for the curve, in which you tell it the tangent direction. And if you have an existing line in here, it actually uses that existing line as your initial tangent on there. And then you tell it what the start radius is and what the end radius is, the overall arc length of it, and in which way it's rotating. In fact, all right. So let me go back to that folder. And I'm doing this on my other screen, so you can't see this. So this talks about, in fact, this being a curve to the left with a long chord which bears this and 500 feet, thence on a radius curve left, the long chord of which bears this. So you're going to have to help me on this. So on here, this spiral curve is giving me only the chord distance here and a single radius. However, a spiral curve actually takes two radiuses on here. Thence on a curve left, the long chord of which there's this. So where is the other bit of information for this spiral curve?
It looks like, and I see this quite often up in Yamhill County too, it looks like whoever wrote the legal description just left out the details of the spiral curve. That's how we see a lot of them in legals too. On the surveys, they'll give the details, but on the legal descriptions, they'll just say a spiral curve and give the chord.
Right.
So we sort of cartoon it in there, and no, it's not real accurate.
So let's at least show you how this is supposed to work if you have all the information. All right. So this will talk about, again, the tangent, or in fact, that can be a chord bearing. If you have that chord bearing, which you just did provide, it actually provides the arc length or the central, the delta angle on here. And in here is the two radiuses. So let's say we start at a 450 foot, and then we go down to a 25 foot on here, and it's to the right. All right. And in here, we put the arc length in here of, let me see, this is 500 feet. That's not going to be it. Let's, come on, zoom in. Let's go 100 feet. Now it'll let me zoom in here. So if we look at this, it started out with the long chord here, or the long radius here. It comes back to the short radius here. So you see it's actually annotating it both with the longer, or the first radius, and the second radius on here. And if we look at the attributes on here, we will see that, in fact, if I were to go and display them, sorry. By the way, you can tell that none of my demos are pre-scripted. I don't have everything set up in advance. All right. So on here, it is a curve, all right, with the chord bearing here. The radius for the first radius is 450 that I input. The arc length was 100. The second radius is 25. All right. So if we actually look at the geometry, it is not a true spiral curve. It is an approximation of a spiral curve. And if we actually go in here and say, edit the vertices on here, you'll see this isn't a true curve. This is an approximation of it, of where it will be. And that's how they've, and if you look at the differing lengths of the actual chords, that's how they've actually drawn it, is they've given you the ability to go and generate a geometry that approximates the spiral curve. But in fact, and they've actually gone and stored those values, both with the first radius and the second radius on here, and your actual chord distance through here. But it's not a true spiral curve. So just be aware of that. It lets you approximate it, but it's not a true curve. But thank you for going and giving me the ability to at least talk about that new ability to go and input a spiral in here. All right. Did we have any questions on that? That's on the spiral curve.
So it looks like it's being done outside of the Kogo tool, correct?
It's actually, careful when you say the Kogo tool.
Or I'm sorry, Traverse tool.
It is outside the Traverse tool, yes. It is actually a Kogo tool. And again, a Kogo tool basically just means that it stores the values that you enter. It is a Kogo tool, but it's outside the Traverse. You cannot input. However, this is an interesting point. If we go in here and we actually start a Traverse, all right, start a Traverse and go with lines. And we actually, as we demonstrated yesterday, we can move off of the grid and go over and tell it to go and input a spiral curve. All right. And when we say enter, it actually will go and store that information in here. And if we look, it's actually storing the first radius, but not the second one. But it will store the information for the chord bearing. It will store the information for the first radius and store the information for the overall arc length on here. It does do that, but again, it's not a true spiral. It's an approximation of a spiral. And while it stores the Kogo attributes here, on here, or the radius 2, it doesn't necessarily show that in the grid. There's no way in the actual Traverse grid to go and implement a spiral. It has to be done outside. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for asking. Good question. All right. Again, I am so sorry for all of the disruptions we had today. We're going to stop homework. No more homework. Let's just go into some more slides and we'll continue on this. We were, in fact, looking at the specific parcel fabric tools. And going back, we can see that we had the Traverse tool, We have the ground to grid. By the way, those are ArcGIS Pro tools, but then we have copy lines 2, which only works with the parcel fabric. And we have the change parcel type and duplicate parcel. Again, the differences are that copy lines 2 goes and takes the polygon, makes it a seed, takes the lines and moves them to whatever parcel type is displayed here. If it goes to the same parcel type, it marks the parent parcel as historic. If it goes to a different one, it doesn't touch the parent parcel. It just copies over the lines and the seed into that new parcel type. All right. Next, the change parcel type actually goes and is literally a cut and a paste. It goes and takes it from the one parcel type and moves it over to the second parcel type. So it takes the polygons and moves those. It takes the lines and moves those. Last night, by the way, I was working on a county that we're migrating right now, and they had 3,000 condominium polygons on there. And they requested that I go and create a new parcel type called condos, because these were all aggregated in the SIMCON, the simultaneous conveyance parcel type. They requested I do that. So what I did is I went and created the new parcel type, copied the attribution over there, and then I actually took all of those polygons matching the condominiums, and I did a change parcel type, and it literally just copied them and pasted them into the other parcel type, kept the same attribution on there. So it was all related to the same records and everything. And all it did was transfer where those features were stored from one parcel type to the other. It's a very convenient tool on there. And then there is duplicate parcel. And again, this is one in which if you have an existing parcel and you wish to go and duplicate it over to, you can duplicate it on top of itself. That allows you to do it one time, or you can duplicate it to a different parcel type on here. All right, so often I get this question. I'm going to go and start a new record here. Often I get the question, well, how do we do condominiums? There's multiple ways of doing condominiums. And often what a lot of counties are doing is they're beginning to take and have condominium polygons, and they'll stack them. All right. So when you create a polygon, which is representing a condominium, whether it represents the individual units or the buildings or the overall land on it, you can use one of two different functions here. The first one is this duplicate parcel. And duplicate parcel just says, okay, where do you want to do it? You want to put it onto here. And it takes it and it does it one time. However, there is an ArcGIS Pro tool called, and I'm moving down into it, called Duplicate Vertical. The Duplicate Vertical tool is very nice because it will allow you to do multiple copies on here, and you can tell it the vertical offset that gets applied on here, and let's just say a 10-foot offset, and then let's go and duplicate it, 12 times. The number of units that are represented in here. And when I say duplicate, it actually now, if I go and search this and actually select it, I now have 13 stacked polygons on here. So let's dig down a little bit deeper. It actually, because I copied them onto the same layer, didn't create any lines. It used the exact same lines that were in there with the original geometry that I had selected. All right. And it only stacked the polygons for me. If I had copied it into a different parcel type, if I copy it onto condominiums, it would have created one set of lines and then copied the polygons in there accordingly. Duplicate vertical. I realize I don't have a slide on. I don't think I have a slide in there for you for that. And let me go to the next one. And yeah, no, I don't on here, but that's a very, very useful tool if you're looking to stack condominium polygons on there. And we're seeing more and more organizations looking to map the actual units and starting to transition into three-dimensional cadasters, three-dimensional representation of those ownership areas. And as I said, especially this is down here in South Florida, we have got Palm Beach County has about 250,000 condominium polygons. All right. The next is set historic or set current. These are actually right here under the records subtab, set historic and set current, and they do exactly what we mentioned in here. Let's undo this so that we can actually see we only have one polygon now. And if I set historic, and let's look over here, this is the created by records. This is the retired by record. If I tell it to set historic, let's turn this on. Set historic, it will go, and if you noticed, it went and populated the retired by record, all right, which then meant it took it out of that display. If I do set current, it will go and take it back. And in fact, it went, but I didn't notice that it actually changed 5.7. Set current actually did not populate this when I set it current on that. So it didn't necessarily create something, it just changed the attribution on it. All right. Set historic, set current on those. Any questions, just talk up, speak up, no problem with that. Create seeds, we've gone over this. It actually checks the associated lines and determines if the lines form a closed polygons. Seeds will be used to go and build to the polygons. When you go and do a build, it will go and actually extend those seeds out until it actually forms the new polygon on there. Shrink to seed. This is something that Esri went and implemented at 2.9. It's a kind of a good idea. This is, let me show you how this works though, and why there's an issue here. It's shrink to seed is actually located on the quality-driven workflow. Quality-driven workflows are supposed to be done without a record because it's not supposed to be creating or doing anything else. So if I do not have a record here and I say shrink to seed, what it actually does is takes the polygon and just makes it a seed. Great, great, right? However, so what's the antidote to this? What should happen? I should now go and build this. However, I cannot go in there and just build the record because I don't have a record. If I do attach a record, it's going to go and build it, and it won't be the same. The polygon won't be the same record as the actual lines in here. So what I have to do in here is I'll have to just go and say build the extent and see if in fact it has anything in here. Oh, it doesn't. Christy is grinning as if she's done this before. Yeah, this was not fully thought out on Esri's part. I've included it in here only because I just want to make sure you understand. Please don't do this. There's reasons why you shouldn't do it. The easier thing to do is just go and take that polygon and say copy lines to and then change the lines. It was supposed to be intended that you could go and shrink something to a seed and then make changes to the lines, and then you would rebuild it, but they didn't think all the way through. So please don't do this. Cindy, yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but I know we watched some of the ESRI stuff on what's coming in 3, and they're supposed to have the reconstruct from seed. Is that going to change that some?
Okay. In fact, this is in 3. It is called reconstruct from seed. All right. And in fact, it will go and allow you to go and take something which has been shrunk to a seed to rebuild it. And the interesting thing is that it allows you to rebuild, and it doesn't necessarily just go through to see if you have lines associated with the record that's done. It actually goes and explodes it and builds it against any lines that are out there. So it will allow you to go and rebuild it from a seed. And it doesn't necessarily have to have all sorts of the lines associated with it. It does allow you to do that. But that is only in 3. All right. So in 2.9, they put the first tool in, but didn't put the second tool in. But that's been fixed now in 3. So if you're in 2.9, please don't do that. Please don't do that. All right. Good. Yeah. Like I said, I when you were grinning, I figured, oh, you've had experience with this. That's not a good tool. Yeah. In 2.9. All right. Delete parcels. Again, with delete parcels, it allows you to go and select the polygon, select the parcel. And when you click delete parcels, it deletes the parcel polygon and deletes all the lines associated with that parcel. All right. However, it does not delete the records. So just be aware of that. So why doesn't it delete the records? Because a record can be related to other parcel types. It could be related to multiple parcels. So the logic is it's not going to delete the overall record reference because you might have other things associated with that record besides that one parcel. Just be aware of that limitation. You can create records out there that are orphaned records. So then the question usually is, well, if I have a record out here, all right, that is orphaned, it doesn't have anything associated with it. If I go in here to my manage records and I look and say, okay, well, show me my last selected one. That's this one right here. Make this my current record. Right? How do I delete that thing? How do I delete that entry in my records polygon feature class? It doesn't, in 3, there is no delete record on here. Well, it turns out I can actually go to I can click on this here, and there actually is a delete button here. All right. But just beware that the first thing you want to do is you want to look to see how many parcels are associated with that record, because you might have other parcels associated with it, and you don't want to destroy that relationship. Okay. Dean, did you have a question? Nope. Okay. I just thought I heard somebody wanting to talk.
Nope.
All right. So yeah, it always, you want to go and check and see how many parcels are associated with an individual record before you go and delete it. Okay. All right. That's sort of a general overview of the standard types of parcel fabric tools to deal with parcels themselves. Copying parcels, duplicating parcels, deleting parcels, those sorts of things, and rebuilding parcels. Let's talk about a concept of record-driven versus quality-driven. And you see this up on the parcels tab. You see two different sub-tabs. The first one, the one we've been dealing with mostly, is record-driven. These are processes that will build, modify, and delete and maintain the association with the record. All right, they actually are made to go and track and modify and track that and manage that record. However, there may be times, and I can tell you this information that Dean has provided is really clean data. You know, it's really nice data. But what happens if you have bad data? If you just have horrible data in here and you want to clean it up, that's not called necessarily record driven, but quality driven. These are specific tasks that will allow you to go and identify issues with your data and clean up your data and fix your data. All right. So the first one I have is one that's called merge points, and the merge points tool, and I'm going to destroy some data here just to show you what it's like. The merge points tool deals with when you have multiple points. These points may have come in because you identified curves, or you had topology intersecting things on here. The merge points tool allows you to take multiple points and replace them with one. All right. So I know this is going to destroy this data, but that's all right. Let's go use it here as an example. With the merge points, it goes and allows you to select 2 or more parcel points on here. It then goes through an analysis and says, okay, well, if we merge this point to go to here, or if we maintain this point here, that's what's going to happen. It's going to go and change the polygon. It's going to change that line. It's going to change everything that's related to that point. However, if we go and change to this one, that's what will happen. This line will move, this polygon will be extended, and it will move over to there. This is actually a very nice tool for cleaning things up. Very nice tool. And I recommend you use this a lot to clean things up if you have excessive vertices, excessive points on there, any of those issues, especially if you came from ArcMap Parcel Fabric. And all we really have to do is click merge on here. Let's go ahead and click merge. I'll go to that first one. So a little discussion before I hit merge. If in fact any of the points that I've included in my selection are marked as control points, it will first go to that point. That will be the one that it uses as the choice. And the other points will be listed behind here. Now, here's the caution. Both in 2.9 and 3.0, if I have a control point in here and I select a non-control point, if I select this other one, it will move the control point. Even though the control point has been marked as don't ever move this, it will move that control point. So be very, very aware of that just as you're moving through here. All right. So I can click on merge. And it will now go and move and modify all of those features, and it removes that point in there. Anybody that's ever had to go and clean up data, oh my gosh, that's a really nice tool. The good thing, it's even faster in 3.0 than it was in 2.9 as far as how it works. All right. A couple more tools here. Merge boundaries. This does similar things with lines. It takes out what we old timers used to call pseudonodes. It takes out points that are on interim on it. So you select a series of lines, you tell it what the line type is and what the offset tolerance is, and it will go and remove interim points and take those multiple lines and merge them into one. Let's go back here and let's go here. And I remember seeing here. Here, this one's good. We've got multiple lines here. All right. These are, if I look, these are tax lot lines. So the merge boundaries allows me to take my selected tax lot lines here, and it will merge them together. This offset really means how far of a bend or difference in there does it have. Usually the default is a half of a meter. Let's go ahead and hit apply. All right, and it's giving me an error on the validation. If I uncheck this, you'll note that point disappeared because it took the 2 lines and replaced them with 1. Here's the big caution. When it did that, it did not modify the COGO values. It kept them as the original one. So if we go in here and check the COGO values here on this line, there was no COGO values on there, sorry. But it would in fact have kept the old value in here, which might have been half of what it should be on there. So just be aware, both the merge boundaries and the merge points do not modify COGO values. I'm going to undo that. Simplify by straight lines and curves. This is an attempt to fix the densified curved lines. I included it in there only because Esri likes to recommend it. I don't recommend it. There's other ways to do that. Reconstruct boundaries. This is available in Pro 3.0. All right, it is a really nice tool in that it allows you to go and select what we used to call the backlot problem, and that there might be a single line that goes from here to here and here to here. If you select these lines and run the reconstruct boundaries, it will go and create a new line here with the overall aggregated COGO values on there and label it accordingly. It's a really nice tool. If you're still at 2.9, there are actually ways to go and install it. It was beta at 2.9 and it was unexposed to most people, but those of us in the beta team actually got information on how to go and expose it to test it. It actually works. It's nice. All right. I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop and we're actually going to do something. All right. So in looking through the samples here, there's a couple that I think are worthwhile for us to look at. That's a spiral curve one. Here's one here. This is a meets and bounds parcel. I saw one here with a fairly simple. Which one is it? Sorry. This is another meets and bounds. Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do this one? This is a meets and bounds. If you haven't downloaded, why don't you take a screenshot of this screen? Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you. All right, and we're going to go and start working on something. So if you're going to follow along, the first thing we want to do is we want to go and we want to go and start ArcGIS Pro. All right. To start ArcGIS Pro, again, go into this T7-4v2.03 folder, double click on the fabric folder, and down underneath there is an ORMAP pf.aprx. Double click on that. That will open up the project file for you. And I'm going to go and close this out and reset everything back to where it was. So if you're having issues, if I'm too fast, if you want me to slow down, if you want me to demonstrate anything, please let me know. So depending upon when you downloaded this information, you may or may not have two different map documents on here, map one, map and map one. I added this yesterday, this map one. And what I did is I went and loaded the parcel fabric into a new map document so that it had the standard symbology. And to do that, I went to my database, towned.gdb, opened up the feature data set, scrolled down to the parcel fabric, which is the blue icon, right-clicked on it and said, add to a new map document. And that will go and load it up with the standard symbology. So I'm going to tell you all right now, I tend to move pretty quickly. So if you want me to slow down, please tell me to slow down. All right. Or let me know if you're even trying to follow or not. Okay. All right. Are we good? Those of us that are following along, are we good? Okay. Somebody open up the mic, please. All right. So one of the things that I was surprised no one has asked me yet is I have a toolbar here. All right. That appears, it's not the standard type of toolbar, and it's not even the same location. I'm surprised no one has asked me how to go and do that.
I already went in and changed mine to how yours is set up.
Okay.
I like it.
You like it, huh? Okay. So this is my productivity toolbar. Right. And so just if you don't know how to do it, this is called the quick access toolbar. And at the end of the quick access toolbar, there is a thing called customize the ribbon. And underneath there is customize the ribbon. And there's import and export. Let me go and reset this to the original one. And it resets to original one. Click it. And it will reset this now. And there's the original quick access. I'm going to put it back up above the ribbon. That's what it actually looks like by default. I actually have set a customization up that's located in the training session. I did, didn't I? Did I not? Oh, I thought I put this in there for you. I will put it in. In the meantime, I need to go and reset mine now. So it allows me to go and import a customization that I happen to have on my my machine. No, that's not what I want. And I will make sure I put it over into the folder. It will then go and put that in. I say, okay, I can then go and tell it to go below my ribbon. All right. While I'm thinking about it, let me go and move that customization over for you.
That's nice, Frank. I really like those. Could be a very good productivity enhancement.
Yeah, these are the ones that I've used. I'm just going to put this in the same folder as the the training slides are. So it's right in the training folder. And it's just called Panda Customizations on here. It's a nice tool. Interestingly, when we first started using ArcGIS Pro, my senior project manager said, I really hate the ribbon. And I still don't like the ribbon, but he said, why can't I just do an arc map? And I said, go for it. And he came up with this, and he actually had an entire customization, and we were beta testing at that time. He put his entire customization up. He had all of his different quick access tools up there, and our next beta release came out, and they didn't have a way to save and restore those customizations. So he wiped out his entire interface, and he said, I'm going to wait until there's a way to save it and restore them in again. But yeah, these are really nice tools. You still actually, if you go over there, you can see these are the tools that I use all the time for going and producing and working on a parcel fabric. All right.
You will see when you do that, that there are multiple versions of sometimes of the same tool. So make sure you're getting the one that you really want.
Oh, yes. And you know, the customization of the ribbon. And when we go in here to customize this, to go and identify a tool, you can go to search, but be careful because there are, in fact, multiple iterations. If we do save, or let's do a zoom. All right, look at all the different types of zooms, the multiple duplications of zooms because they had them stored different places. Yeah, you want to be careful with that. Just the selects, all those are there. You have to make sure you choose the right one on there. All right. So everybody's editing, everybody's ready to go, right? All right. So before we start, let's look at this parcel and tell me, is there an easy way that I can figure out where this thing is? Help me not be.
It's on map 7428 and it's tax lot 700 is what map it's on. And we have the 74 township, so I don't know if you can zoom to 7. I'm not sure if you can zoom to 7428.
So would that be stored? Because again, I just loaded the parcel fabric up. I didn't load up any of the other components, so I didn't have the map sheets in here. Let me go in. If I pull my map, is it map group or how is it? Map index. Lines, map index.
Probably map index is what would be my.
If I just drag that in and open up the attribute table, and then I do a find.
Well, isn't there a special tool in your toolbox? Zoom to map?
There is. Let's see if this works because I didn't have it loaded. If I don't have it loaded in my table of contents, I can't do it. However, in the map that Dean had, yes, I could go and do that.
For what it's worth, I just went to locate on layer search and type in 7.4.28.
Many ways to find things. All right. So
Well,
let's go.
I just went to toolbox and opened the zoom to map tool.
So zoom to map tool. And just do an open on it. And again, this is the point at which it appears Frank doesn't know what he's doing, only because I don't know how you've
You
got
get to
this
show
all
the
organized.
The tool is showing though, the zoom to map.
Yes,
It's pretty handy dandy.
this is actually very nice. This is a nice tool. So what is the map number?
7428
7428.
and 700 is a tax lot number.
700.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I guess we don't need that in here. Thank you. That's a great tool. Thank you. All right. So this is actually, again, I'm going to look for your help, the legal description. that we have says beginning at a 5/8 iron rod with aluminum cap at the northeast corner of the tract of land described in this OR book and page or this document number. All right. Thence along the north line of said tract, north 894659 west for 134.89 feet. So
The beginning points on the, what can I say? The rectangle that, if you go down the road on the right-hand side, there's a rectangle. The beginning points on its northwest corner is where I would start, since it's calling, wait a minute, it can go west. I'm sorry, the northeast corner of that parcel. Excuse
this
me.
corner here.
Right, because it begins at that northeast corner and then goes west.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So we have we're mapping this using a meets and bounds description, and I'm going to start differentiating and recognizing that and start embedding in you the fact that the tools that you use are going to be dictated by the type of legal description that you're going to be mapping. All right. The tools and the procedures are going to be dictated by the types of the legal description you're doing. So if you can recognize the different types, this is a meets and bounds. So a meets and bounds, you're going to go through a procedure, and let's go and figure out what let me go in here. Sorry. Training, and this is my slides. I have down here workflows. This is on page 78. All right, or excuse me. What we're going to do is go to the one that's on 79, splitting by meets and bounds description. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to create a record. We're going to input the boundary using the traverse tool. We're going to close the traverse, make sure it closes. We're going to create a seed, and build that parcel. Then we're going to align it up if there's any alignment issues. Then we're going to clip the underlying parcel, and then we're going to attribute everything. Those are the steps when you have a meets and bounds description. All right, on here. So let's go in here again. First step, create a record. And then it becomes, okay, how is your county going to go and decide how to do this? This can be document number, this can be file number, this can be date, however you want to reference it. So in this case, let's just call this the file number 3739000. All right. The record type. This is what? This is a partition plat, or what is this?
It would be a seg as far as what we have on the list. It's a lot line adjustment, but we just tag it as a segregation.
A segregation.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you. And then the recorded date. This is interesting because it references as a recorded date. What actually, this could be the recording of the document. This could be the date on which you actually did this. In this case, again, we don't have to fill it out, but I'm going to recommend you fill out that recorded date and then create a record. Again, as soon as you create a record, it will go and fill this in and populate this in. And it will now begin tracking everything that you do. All right. Any questions? No questions. Let's move on to the traverse, because that's our second step. We're going to traverse and we're going to input the lines using the traverse tool. All right. Traverse tool. We're going to use tax lot lines. And we know our start point. We know our start point, don't we? Our point of beginning. We're going to snap there. I don't have it on that list of the steps or the processes of ground to grid. I will recommend that you do ground to grid on here. So just to go and make sure you understand, right now, I start at the traverse, no ground to grid offset is showing up. So I'm going to go down here to ground to grid and hover over it so that this pops up. And then I'm going to go and move up and say, enter the ground line. And I'm going to input that first call, which is along a line. And that first call is 89 degrees. I put in 89.4659. I do not have to put a delimiter between the minutes and the seconds. I don't have to put a period or anything in there because of this is one of the formats that's acceptable. So I'm efficient. I like to save keystrokes. So I don't put a period there. But you can put a period or a dash between there. And then I put a dash for the quadrant. In this case, this quadrant is northwest. And remember, that's quadrant 4. All right, as soon as I have a valid bearing here, the next button enables itself. Now it says, okay, now click on next, and it says click and zoom and click on the line and then along the line. Notice you do not have to click on the beginning and ending point. All it's doing is capturing that angle from here. So you don't have to click on the start and end point of the line, just somewhere along the line. Do it in the same direction at which you're going to be traversing that the course describes. If I did it backwards, if I did here east or north to east instead of north to west, that would have 180 degrees added to it. So make sure you're going in the right direction when you go and click on that line. All right. Good. Remember, speak up, raise your hand, do something, stop me. I will keep, I'm like a bulldozer. I'll keep moving until somebody tells me to stop.
Donna,
right.
you have no comments? I'm shocked, Donna.
Oh, no, this is silly, but it's a question for me. So like you have the line type, you have a line, create a line feature, and then you have the 2-point line as an option underneath as far as what line type you want to use. And then, so
in this case, we are not using the create line. We are using the traverse tool to create the lines.
so that's what that's for. That's when you're drawing, I guess. Because I always said that, and it's like, well, but that's what it's for. It's for the drawing. It's one of those
That's
simplistic.
exactly, that's a good question, though. It is, in fact, for just drawing lines. It's not necessarily for building them or capturing the COGO values on them. It's just for drawing lines.
Okay,
is
so
what that is.
So the other one, okay, the shape.
The traverse tool, yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, notice on the traverse tool underneath here, you do have, is it a 2-point line that you're building, or is this a multi-point line, or what they used to call a polyline?
That's what the ones I was looking at.
Okay, yeah. So the difference is a 2-point line basically is a single line, and anytime the bearing changes, that's a new line. And it uses that to store the COGO values on those individual line segments. A multi-part line, and let me go and just draw one here. A multi-part line, if I go in here, the multi-part line allows me to go, it defaulted back there, sorry. The multi-part line, thank you. The multi-part line allows me to go and does not end. It's a single line there. That's one single line that has multiple vertices in it. If I were to calculate the COGO or attempt to store the COGO on there, it would only give me the COGO from the start to the end, not all those individual segments. Multi-part or the single line actually is a multiple vertex line. You can use that for natural features, but for the most part, it really is only involved with, excuse me, you can use it for natural features, lakefronts, those sorts of things, but it really doesn't have COGO associated with it.
I miss the smooth in ArcMap. That's one thing I do miss in Pro is ArcMap had the smooth that would take like a line like that, and you could do the single line and it would smooth it for you, the arcs, and just make it a little bit prettier. I do miss that in Pro.
As you can tell, I don't mind going and going in here. So we have the streaming line capabilities on here, but we don't have the smooth. The smooth actually, I think, is a geoprocessing tool inside of Pro.
Where it used to just be a button, and ArcMap was just like I could choose a line, and it was that's the one thing I do miss, or will miss, I guess I should say.
Yeah, not to go too far, but there's streaming. There is no smoothing. Correct. All right.
That's off subject. I mean.
Yep. Okay. So I'm back on here. I've gone and done set start.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is Tammy. Sorry. I've been following so far, but I don't see the tax slot line, the linear envelope for the traverse tool.
So when you go to the traverse tool, when you first open
I'm not seeing that tax slot line. I don't know why.
Okay. So it's only going to show you the things that are turned on and editable. So
Well, I do have it turned on.
Is it editable? Is it selectable? So if you click in the table of contents on this,
Yes.
What about editable? Is it editable?
How do I know that?
Okay, so over in the table of contents, all right, in the table of contents across the top of it, there's multiple buttons here. The first one, list by display. Is it being displayed? The next one is list by source. And then the next one is list by selection. Is it selectable? If it's checked, it's selectable. The next button, the pencil icon, that's actually, is it editable?
I see. Okay, that's why. Thank you. It's not checked.
I
Oh,
did
I
the
see
same
now.
thing.
Thank you so much. I am so happy. That was so simple.
So let me go and share with you. I've been doing this so long. I've already made every single mistake you're going to make. I've made them. I can guarantee that you can't make a mistake that I haven't made yet. All right. The difference is, like an elephant, I don't forget my mistakes, because when I make a mistake, I bulldog in and I figure out what I did wrong. And little things like that, it's obvious to those of us that do it all the time. But if you're new to it, please say something. Don't just, make sure you say something. All right. So let me go in here and start again. Traverse, I went to tax lot lines. I went to set my starting point to there. My ground to grid popped up. Good. I can now start actually inputting my first line, 89.4659 northwest. All right, enter for a distance of 134.89 feet to the right of way. All right. And again, it's hard because I'm on a different screen here. Let's see what I can do here to make it easier. So then I go to the right of way, thence along said right of way along the following two calls. 00 degrees, 0043 seconds. That's north to west, -4. for a distance of 375.78 feet. All right. There it is there. My next call is thence north 8 degrees, 18 minutes, 21 seconds, northwest for a distance of 296.47 feet. To that point there. The south right away of Rockwheel Road, thence along the south, thence along said south witness line. North 79 degrees, 54 minutes, 45 seconds. That's north to east. That's first quadrant. Sorry. When I'm looking over here, I can't see what it's actually doing there because it takes the focus away. 79, 45, excuse me. 79, 54, 45, northeast, 299.97 feet. All right. Thence 16, 12, 42, southeast, for 407.14 feet. All right. Then 00, 5409, that's southwest, third quadrant, 282.16 feet. All right. Then 77, 46, 41, southwest, 232.0206 feet to the point of beginning. All right. So once I reach within my tolerance, it automatically will close it for me. Again, my tolerance is set to 1 foot. But Donna would like to move it differently, and you just have to unfortunately set that each session. All right, it automatically will go and do that. I have a misclosure distance of 0.04 of a foot on here. It gives me the calculated area in square feet. I can change that if I want to go and change it. If you're interested, I can show you how to do that, but in this case, we'll just leave it at that. Any questions? Any observations or comments?
I have one question.
Yes, Christy.
With what we talked about yesterday with the corrections to ground to grid, since the traverse is essentially drawing as you go, if you turned off the ground to grid in this middle of a traverse, would it only assign that information on those lines, you know, the half of the traverse that you had the ground to grid on?
I believe so, yes. It's as you enter, because the lines get entered individually as you hit the course. It's similar to if I go and move over here and enter a line separately, whether or not I have ground to grid turned on as far as whether it goes and applies that correction on there. Yeah. Same thing. Good question. So I'm done here. All right. Here's one of my little things that I don't like about Pro. In order for me to get off of this, I literally have to go and click on this back button. Okay. That's not the only way to do it, but that's the way that Esri likes to teach us. I could also go and click on this modify, or I could click on another tool, but they prefer click on the back button and it will get you off of the traverse. And you're still in literally create. So I have to then say, okay, I'm done. I'm done. To verify that this is actually, I can go in there and say, using my heads up display and say, select all my lines that are in my current record. I'll go to attributes and there I see them all. And in fact, if I click on the layer, I can see they're all being attributed with the correct global ID. Any questions yet? Everybody good? I can then go to create seed and tell it, go ahead and create a seed. Verify that these lines close and give me some sort of verification that it does close. And in fact, it creates a seed for me. All right. There's a couple different, again, I never try to impose my workflow on somebody else. There's some options here. I can actually go in here and select that seed, and I can fully attribute that seed if I want to. I don't have to build in order for it to go and do that. I can actually go and select that seed, unselect this, unselect that. I now have my seed. That's my seed. If I want to go and attribute it, I can attribute it right now. The only difference, the only thing about that seed is it's not fully expanded to go and match the lines. That's the only thing different about it. So I could go and do all that if I want to. If I wanted to go and attribute it, I can. Is the APN 222097 for the new parcel or the old parcel? There's an APN.
700 was the parent. This will be the child, which is, I believe, 702.
So
Is that what you mean, Frank?
yeah, what's the attribution that goes in the name field? Do we know?
That is not a field I use. Is that the tax lot?
Yeah, let
So-
me go and see.
We have not historically used name in Polk County. It's there for others. We use actually tax lot because I've made attribute rules that build off the tax lot. And that was a question I had, is if I have attribute rules for the tax lot, do they apply for the seed? So if it was a tax lot and I typed in and you had the attribute rules turned on and you typed in 702, the ORMAP number would automatically be updated for you. And we haven't used name in Polk County. I don't know what other counties are doing, but tax lot's an attribute then that has a rule that updates the ORMAP number, which is the statewide standard for identifying it. It also updates the map tax lot, which is the county field that uniquely identifies a tax lot by combining it. So if you typed in the tax lot number to be 702, 2 fields up from where you are now, Frank. No, go up.
Sorry.
Go to tax lot and type in 702 and hit return. You can see that the map tax lot automatically was updated. So the attribute rules for a seed actually use the attribute rules from the tax lot. And if you slide down a little bit, go down in the attribute list, please. There should be an ORMAP number or tax lot. I'm sorry, bad name on my part. ORMAP num is the ORMAP number, but if you go down a little bit, Frank, there you go. Or tax lot is actually derived from the ORMAP number, and it appends a 5-digit leading zero attribute or set of digits on the end of the ORMAP number. And those are all then being updated through the attribute rules by the update of tax lot. And again, we struggled with what to do with name, and we decided that we would leave in the tools committee. We decided that we would leave the tax lot name or the actual name of the feature up to the county, and they could do whatever they wanted with it. And that way there was a lot of flexibility. We couldn't make a decision, but we do know that we have to update the tax lot attribute, and the attribute rules then of course update the ORMAP number and the map tax lot. I'm sorry, the OR tax lot field and the map tax lot field, which are the unique numbers internal to the county and unique within the state.
Perfect.
Sorry. Long
So,
definition.
Dean, you also just reaffirmed my assertion that there's no difference between a seed and the polygon, full-blown polygon. It is a polygon. It just happened to have a very, very tiny geometry on it. It does work. The attribute rules work against it. When we get done building this, after I get my next step, I'm going to show you how to fix all of this order on here. I'm going to go and do that. All right. Okay. So we've gone and attributed. That was purely to go and demonstrate that it is in fact a polygon, and you can attribute it before you actually build it. It just happens, by the way, to have one attribute in here is a seed, yes or no. That literally is the only difference between a seed and a full-blown polygon as to the attribution. So when you go and do build, remember I said it actually goes through and looks at all the polygons associated with the record. It looks for the lines. Well, in this case, when it looks at the polygons, it looks whether or not it's attributed as a seed. If it's attributed as a seed, it goes and expands it. If it's not attributed as a seed, it doesn't touch it. All right. Okay. So my next step on that outline of steps, just to verify, I've gone created record input. I've gone all the way to create the seed. I'm now going to go and build it. All right. So I'm going to go and do the build active. On my records, it goes and builds it out. If there's attribute rules, whatever, it goes and does that. Okay. Before I get into the aligned, because it's going to be a long discussion about align, I want to show you how to really configure your attributes, both in your attribute pane and in your attribute dialog box. Okay. So, by the way, when Panda goes to hire somebody, we give them an empty data set and say, hey, set this up so that it's very optimized for your editing. If they don't do this, there's several checks against them. Okay. So I'm going to go to tax lot and I'm going to right click on it. By the way, I haven't saved this. Let me save this at the moment, just because otherwise I can't make these changes. I'm going to go to tax lot, right click, go to data design fields. All right, this is going to bring up all the attribute fields on here. Okay. This is the way that you configure your attributes so that it makes it easier for you to go and work with. So as I'm looking, because of the way you load attribute fields into a data structure now, I could go and take all of these here from county all the way down to source type. Those are the ones I really want to pay attention to, right? That's the ones I want to go and pay attention to. So I'm going to select them all by selecting up on the top and holding shift and going and selecting on the bottom. And then I'm going to hold down my left button and I'm going to drag them up to the very top. All right. I'm then going to go and select them one more time. And then this time I'm going to hold down my control key and I'm going to click on the highlight. I'm going to tell it to highlight this thing. All right. If I don't want to get confused, I can actually turn off under the name field. I can uncheck that name field. I don't want to see that anymore. This is to answer Dean's question. He didn't even express it yet. You do not have to go and display the name field. It does have to be in there, but it doesn't have to be displayed. Similar to object ID doesn't have to be displayed anymore. All right, so you can go through here and figure out what you want to have displayed and not displayed on here. These are the ones that are important for you. So let's move them up to the top. Let's highlight them. Now let's click on save. If you do not have the save button, it will give you an error saying, a warning here saying you've got edits that haven't been saved. You can either save those edits or you can discard them. In this case, I saved them before. So I can go and hit save. Now when I go in here and I look over here, all of mine that I was paying attention to are now up at the top. By the way, obviously there were a couple other ones, and they're highlighted. Highlighting in yellow. Why yellow? Because it's a shortwave color. Our human eye is naturally drawn to shortwave colors. So yes, that's how you go and set it. So you can do that. By the way, the stated area and unit, those were automatically selected. One more thing I want to go and do. I'm going to go back here again, and you don't have to do this unless you want to. Go to fields. All right, and I'm going to uncheck stated area units. Stated area. All right, this is in fact the deeded acreage. If you have nothing in there, it will not display anything. Calculated area, however, it will display calculated area. This is your shape area. And you can tell it that you only want 2 decimal places or 2 decimal places. You want to show thousands and pad with zeros. And then let's go and tell it, are these going to be acres or feet in here? In this case, this is square feet. Let's go ahead and show square feet. All right. Again, just one of those for those of us that are really obsessive about being as efficient as possible.
I think we had an issue where the calculated area was coming up with different values depending upon the scale you were at. When you I can't remember the exact thing, but there was something that our GIS specialist came up with that we were getting slightly different square footage values. And I think it had something to do with scale at the time that you were selecting it or creating it. So I think there's something in GeoNet about the bug about that or something, but
yeah, there's actually, it depends upon the function that you use to calculate that. If you calculate, if you use an arcade geometry code, you know, there's a code that's area $ per, you know, feature, comma, and then what value that you want on there, acres. That is really dependent upon scale as far as the values that it returns to you. When you're looking at acres, it's not much difference, but if you're looking at square feet, it does make a difference. So just be aware that that arcade geometry code is susceptible to differences depending upon scale. So yeah, but otherwise, this is actually returning the value of shape area and whether or not you've got anything else on here. I might as well go in and give you one more little thing here. If I go in here to that calculated area, which is here, let's highlight it. Let's unhighlight that. Highlight this one. Let's drag this one up higher so that we can see it up here. I'm going to go and show you, I can take, again, the shape, the calculated area is actually coming from the shape area, the overall shape area. So if it's in the same units, the map units as your display, it should be the same. But I've set this to 2 decimal places in square feet. I can actually go and make this, instead of just reflecting, I can make it a rate in which I could go and tell it to divide it by 43,560, which will go and convert square feet into acres. And I can tell it to put a suffix in there of AC here. All right. And when I do that now and apply that, it has been moved up here, and it's actually taking the value that's in the shape area, dividing it by 43,560, and then returning it back to me, rounded to 2 decimal places. Neat little trick. It still stores it in square feet. Excuse me. Still stores it in square feet. It returns it back to you, divided by 43,560, and then it exposes it it presents it at 2 decimal places. Okay. Just another little tip and trick that we use a lot. All right. So what we have done is we've gone and input this using the record. And if we go around and look, we can see there's a slight variation between these two. They're close, but they're not exact. So the bearings that were used and the distances that we use have rounding errors on there. Doesn't mean there's a mapping issue, doesn't necessarily mean any of that. It just means that the rounding issues that were included on that legal description have been introduced into your data here. So the next step in going and doing a split, the next step is aligning. Make sure that you fix all of the alignment issues with the parcel that you built on top of the other parcel. All right. Cleanse your mind.
Can you
So-
measure when you windowed in, Frank? Can you measure why windowed in to see how far that spot's apart? I assume the measure tool allows.
Yep. I can go and measure from here to here. And in fact, that's 0.02 of a foot. But it's still enough that if I were to do a clip, it would create a polygon for me. By the way, you see me zooming in and out here. Stupid. If I go down here, I have one selected feature. I click on this, it's a zoom back to there. All right. I just want to make sure we use as many tips and tricks as possible. So again, what I'm asking is let's clear our minds for a minute, because we're now going to look at a tool that allows us to go and align things up, make sure that there is no real differences between these lines. And this tool that I'm going to use is actually a combination of 2 adjustment tools. If we go to our adjustments tools here, let's go and display this in long. If we go to our adjustment tools, our alignment tools here, there's a couple of tools here. The first one is called transform. Transform allows us to go and create links between vertices and points on a selected polygon. And it then goes and takes those links and uses those to create sort of an affine transformation. Let's go and do this. If I go in here, it'll say, okay, let's create links. I can create a link here, 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 here. And then I can apply a transformation. I can apply either an affine transformation, a similarity transformation, linear rubber sheeting, or a nearest neighbor or natural neighbor rubber sheeting. This tool is the first part of this tool that I'm actually going to use, in that it says, show me where the points are supposed to go to. Okay. Show me where, if I have a point, where to put that point. The second part of the tool is called Align Features. This Align Features tool allows me to draw a path. All right. And then it goes and allows to create a tolerance. So I can actually say, let's create a tolerance of 10 feet and let's draw a path. And on that path, it looks for vertices that are inside that tolerance and then moves those vertices to the path. If you really want to get down into the complex issue, it actually moves them perpendicular to the path. So it doesn't look to move points next to one another. It moves them so they are perpendicular. So it figures out what the least move is on those individual vertices when it's moving them. So this tool is for those instances where you have a point, but not a corresponding point. Okay. So the tool that we're going to use is called Align Parcels. That Align Parcels tool, this first part of it says, let's add links. These links are going to go and generate and tell us how far apart the points are from other corresponding points. All right, because this was my point of beginning, and I clicked on this, I'm going to say this point here, I'm going to put an anchor point there. All right. I'm going to put an anchor point there. The first time I clicked it, by the way, it had to load that anchors and links. You'll see it's actually loading them. These are new temporary feature classes that are loaded to your table of contents. So I've generated, and I said, that point there, don't move it. I know that's where it's supposed to go. The other thing to remember is that it generates a tolerance, a buffer. It says, I'm going to evaluate things inside of this buffer. And I remember this was 5 feet, and that was only 2/10 up at that end. So I'm good with 5 foot. Sometimes it has to be larger. And just remember, when you go and tell it to generate links, it's going to look inside that tolerance or inside that buffer. So now some magic, I can say generate links. It will go out and look for corresponding points. Once I've established an anchor, it will go in here and say, oh, okay, here. And if I zoom in close enough, it will tell me there's the link. Okay. And it said that point is going to go to there. And then when I go and move
Can you
up,
see the distance? Because I always measure. I'm always like, how far am I off? Is it going to tell me the distance between point to point as to what's being moved?
actually there is there's a symbology set for this that it usually will go and show you. What happened was I went and I turned on my transform first, so it didn't automatically load the symbology set for this. It actually will tell you what that distance is on here. I mean, we can just say, let's go ahead and label this here. Sorry, label it, and the label property for this is for here's the feature class here. Just tell it not the name of it, but the actual shape length on here. So this actually will label now a shape length, but there is a complete one. Maybe I should go and tell it to label these. Label this feature class, shape length, nothing here. I'm not sure why it's not doing that, but I thought I applied that. Yeah, apply it.
Mine shows on the top two, which are probably a little bit bigger.
It probably is
Choose
so small,
and-
it may not, yeah. So as still not showing me the label on there. But anyway, it will. If you use the align feature, align parcels first, it actually creates a symbology set when it loads those link feature class in, tells it whether it's a digitized or whether it's a generated link, and actually gives you the distance on there. We can manually go and do this, and it is in fact that same, in this case, it's that same distance, and the other one would be less than that. But yeah, it generates those links. And again, for corresponding points, that's really what this is for. It's to tell you the corresponding points and how it's going to move them. All right. However, here, there is a corresponding point here that's associated with that, and it actually gave me a distance on there. If, however, there is no point there, it actually will go and use, sorry, I go back here. It actually used this here point to edge snapping. So let me go and see if I can help you understand this a little bit more. This area here, this is that transform tool. It says you tell me what links I use, whether or not I'm going to freeze that or not. And then this area here, this is the align features tool. So this tool is a combination of those two things, and it will help you to go and place this so that it is contiguous and there is no gaps or overlaps between the new parcels that you created and the existing ones. All right. All right, so we still have another question here. How does it decide what it's going to move? All right, that's a really good question. Maybe I want to move the new stuff to match the old, or maybe I want to use the old and match it to the new. So up on top here, it has, you can change what's getting moved or what's getting adjusted. It will adjust whatever is selected. In this case, I had selected my new parcel that I just created. So it will adjust my new parcel to fit into my existing element. If, however, I go and toggle it to the surrounding, it then goes and selects every polygon that is contiguous or could possibly go and touch any of these, and it will adjust those to move to the new location. So you have to subjectively figure out which is the better location. In this case, I started at a point off of an existing one, and then I went and did a round. I don't think my new parcel configuration is as accurate as your existing data. So I probably want to go back and say, no, let's adjust my new one to fit into that existing data. Again, there is some subjectivity associated with this, but you can go ahead and do that. Questions before I go and tell it to adjust?
So for me, it's going to adjust old to new. So I have a vertice or a point, and it's going to adjust the old to the new, be it 0.02 or however.
So
much.
you would toggle it this back. All right, you would toggle this to adjust the old. So again, everything that's selected is going to get adjusted.
So the old line stretches over. Is that what happens?
It
I
actually,
mean, either it gets cut or stretched over.
it actually moves. It doesn't stretch it necessarily. It just moves it so that it uses the same points that are in there.
Does it affect other lines related to the parcel? Because it's a polygon we're working in, correct? So if you move one line, does it adjust everything?
It adjusts the points, it adjusts the lines, and it adjusts the polygons to fit to this new configuration where those are. But Donna, so you get one exemption for tomorrow, whether you realize it or not. All right. It does not adjust it if it's not turned on. Only things that are selectable and editable will be moved. So let me toggle back to my original one. Now let me toggle, and now I have tax lines and my condos or my tax codes. It only will adjust what you have turned on. So you want to make sure you're aware of what's displayed and not displayed on here.
Even if it's selected or not selected? I
Well,
guess it doesn't have to be, does
if
it?
if I have a layer turned off and I toggle this, it does not select it. If it's not being displayed, you cannot select it.
Okay, so it automatically sees, okay, okay.
It automatically only selects from those layers that are turned on. It does not select undisplayed layers or undisplayed features.
So Frank, do you have, is there an accepted hierarchy? So for example, if I'm moving a deed into an area that maybe I had just cogoed in a subdivision, maybe I would want to snap to the back map. But if I just am putting a subdivision in that I actually had good control points in, then I'd probably want to adjust my map to it. I don't know what is there some sort of thoughts on that?
So here's my thoughts. And here's the justification of what I was going to do. If I came from a control point, if my description called for a control point and I came from a control point, I would use that new thing and move everything to it. However, I came from an existing point. I started here at an existing point. I don't know whether that point was good or not, but I did come from that existing point so that I came and went around here. So I've got possible starting location, not great, and existing location. I'm probably going to take my new and adjust it to the old. But again, this is really personal. This is very subjective also. Which way are you going to adjust this? Where do you have the confidence in what these things are and how they represent? Because I know legal descriptions have rounding errors on them, and the actual courses called out in that legal description only points to the monument, only points to the corner. So as a surveyor, I'm just very leery of that. Again, it's very subjective. I cannot give you any guidance on this. This is individual, how you feel about the data that you're mapping it into. Okay, sorry on that, but that's one of those things. People want me to go and give them a hard and fast rule. It's like there is none. How good is your existing data? All right, if you're comfortable with it, use your existing data, move the new to the old. If you're not comfortable with it or don't know exactly, maybe you want to move the new to the old or the old to the new. It really is very, very subjective. Okay.
I guess my concern, Frank, and then I'll let it be, is it's polygon based. So if I'm moving one line, does the error get distributed through my whole polygon? Does it shift things I'm not working in that area in?
It's actually moving the vertices or the points. It's not shifting the whole polygon. It's just moving those individual vertices so that they match up.
So just the vertices
Yeah.
are being moved. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but I did like I actually just clicked a line just to sort of see what it would do for the old to the new. And so it adjusts the vertices of the polygon, but doesn't adjust the vertices of the line. So there's still like a tax lot line that's sort of hanging out at the very edge of that one afterwards. Is that something I suppose we're going to get to?
Make sure, again, and we went through this earlier, make sure that your tax lines are selectable. And as your polygons, make sure these are all selectable. Make sure they're all editable. It may turn out that they may not have been selectable or editable.
And I just need to make sure that those were highlighted as well.
That's exactly, yeah.
Okay.
All right. And again, the bottom line is it also goes and allows you to go and preview what's going to happen on here. I'm going to go and take the new and adjust it to the old on here, and it will go through and align them for me. Didn't I tell you had to clear your head on this one? This one requires a clear-headedness, and you really want to make sure you think about what you're doing here. So let me go in here. Let's go and see. Oh,
I think
What
you
if-
had it, I think you had it toggled the wrong way.
Yeah,
Did I have it?
that's what I was talking about, was that little thing.
yeah. Let me go. Was this the one you were talking about, or was there a different one?
Yeah, that's the one I was looking at.
Was someone else? Did I interrupt somebody else? On here. And what's this distance in here? Two.
It looked like you had the toggle set to move the old to the new.
I did. Sorry. I did. Yeah. On here. So I'm not sure why this one did not. This is in fact a, by the way, Dean, it's still getting there's a domain set for source type that's not getting set correctly.
Yep.
Yep. He knows exactly what I'm saying in there. Yeah, it's a source type in there. And that may actually be why it didn't adjust, is it may have been failing because of that domain value not being correct. It should have adjusted that over there. All right. So that may have been why it did not automatically go and make that adjustment on it. That failed on that. Because it does work on here. All right. So align parcels on here. So we've aligned this. I'm going to clear that out. I'm not going to. So how would I correct that? How would I correct that? What tools do I have available to me? And I'm not saying correcting this value, but this is, I'm not sure what that is, what these values are in here. Make it a value. So how would I correct that once I get in here? What tools do we have in ArcGIS Pro? Come on, somebody wants an exception for tomorrow.
You could delete
Could
that
you use the
vertex.
trim? Oh,
Oh, not delete the vertex. There is a tool called Extend Trim. Extend Trim tool. All right, when I do the Extend Trim tool, there is an option to recalc the COGO values. Don't do that. To keep whatever was on the original one. It says allowed without a selection. I can actually go and do this. And when I move my cursor over the Extend Trim tool, it shows me in dashed lines. That's what it's going to trim up. And I can click there. And again, that domain is still doing it. It will go and trim that up. So it goes and trims it up. The Extend Trim tool inside of Pro is really nice.
Now, Frank, it did that because you adjusted the old to the new. And that's why it left that.
No, it left that because it did not make that move because it was failing on the domain value. It had an invalid domain value, so it did not make that edit change on that one line. That's why it didn't move it. If that had a valid domain value like all the other lines did, it would have moved that vertex also.
Okay.
Yeah, it was not. It was not because it wasn't selected. It was because it was failing on that. It had an invalid domain value, so it wouldn't let it finish that edit for that one line.
This is Tammy.
Yes, Tammy.
Could you also just use edit vertices, the edit
Yes.
vertices tool?
Yes, you could have.
That seems like that would be faster too, yeah.
Yeah, it could have. It actually, the fastest way would have been fix that domain value and beforehand. But yeah, you don't want to have any invalid domain values because that doesn't let it edit on that one feature. Yeah. All right. We're not done. We're not done. We've now aligned it up. Now we have to go and clip it. Okay. I know this seems like it's taking an awful long time, but the reality is once you get used to doing this, you know, I can do things like this in like 5 minutes. It just doesn't take that long anymore. All right. So now let me go back and let me select my feature. Why did it not select the other surrounding parcels? Didn't I just move them? Didn't I just impact them? Christie's going to answer. Go ahead.
They aren't part of your active record.
That's right. They are not marked with this because the record only gets marked if it's created or deleted or marked historic. All right. That's the only time it stores the record information, not when it's moved, not when it changes geometry on it, only when it gets created or when it gets marked as being deleted. There. Good. All right. So now I have this here and I want to clip it out because if I actually look and do a select, I have 2 tax lots. I have one on top of the other one. All right, let's just go and I have these other layers on here. Let's just go and select those 2 on here. I've got this one. I've got this one. I have to go and clip out the one from the other. Let me make sure I select this. All right, clip. The clip command. 2 ways to use the clip command. Nice and easy, or you really use a microscope. So let's use the one that Esri recommends a lot, all right, in which it will take what I have selected and use that to clip. Important note here, it only clips polygons off of other polygons. All right, so I have to have that polygon selected. If I did a select features, it would have the points and lines and everything. No, I can only select the polygon. And then target features, what do I want to select this from? I can tell it here, and then I have to tell it, nope, that's the one I want to select, and only that one. Notice it did the tax code and other things on here. So I can do that as the selected. All right. I don't want to do a buffer on here. I want to discard the area on the existing one that intersects on here, and I can say clip. I now have this one part. Let me turn off this tax code. I don't want to see this anymore. I'm not concerned with that. I have that one parcel. I have another parcel here. However, if I look at that parcel, here are my 2 parcels. All right. They both have the same created by record. Why? This is a new parcel that's been impacted by my record. All right. If I turn on my historic, I can then see that the old historic one actually contains, where are we here? Contains the retired by record of my record. All right. So if in fact I had a stated area, it would proportion that stated area for me. It, in essence, is a deed acre. It would cut out this portion of this, and there would be a proportion on there. Otherwise, right now, it's not. It's just using this and giving me the return area on here. Why does it not have a calculated area? It has a shape area here, but it does not automatically have an attribute rule that calculates that value. Those are parcel fabric that you actually have to tell it what you want to calculate into those fields. Okay, I said that there were two ways of doing this. I'm going to go back to clip. I'm going to go and select my one tax parcel. All right. The other way to clip is if I go to clip. All right. There is on the bottom here, it says clip all editable layers. Okay. If I just turn my layers off, they are no longer editable layers. So rather than having to go and select exactly what I want to do, luckily this corresponds exactly with one, but it may overlap several layers on here. So if I use this option, just be aware that it's going to clip everything in here that's turned on. And it will clip that for me just as well. All right. Two options there. Depends on whether you're using a belt or suspenders. Any questions on that? None? All right. I'm going to go and show you one more thing. It's about 10 minutes to 3 here, which is about 10 minutes to noon your end. I don't, even though I know this was short today, I don't want to go and extend this over. All right. But I do want to go and show you something so that you can, in fact, play around and test with it later. So what we've done here is, let me go and find an easier one here. I have a record. I'm just going to use this record anyway. Previously, we've been doing meets and bounds. Okay. Meets and bounds, input the meets and bounds, make sure it closes, create the seed, align it, clip it. What happens if I have a legal description that's not a meets and bounds, but rather it describes the northwesterly 100 feet of this parcel? All right. There is an easier way to go and do what is commonly referred to as an adequate breakdown, in which I can say, create a record. I'm going to use the same one, select the parcel, and then do a divide. Now it understands whether or not I have a line selected or a polygon selected. In this case, I have a polygon selected and it gives me divide polygon. And I can tell it I'm going to do it into widths. In this case, I'm going to do 100 feet. 100 feet on here. And then I'm going to tell it I wish that to be from the northwest on here. And it will go, and if I have show preview, it will go and show me where that new line is. Now, because I have a record selected and active, when I perform this divide, watch what happens. It will create automatically a line, and it will automatically create 2 points in here. All right. Turn it off, line, 2 points in here. It will automatically create those on here. Let's go and only select this line here. It did not automatically divide the line though. It did not automatically divide this line, which is the entire one. All right. It did not automatically split the lines because you don't need split lines. It only needs to form a closed polygon. Again, same record, just sort of to do this, let's go and create a line. All right, let's go and create another line. Again, let's get off divide. Let's go back here, let's create another line. These are all being tagged with the same record. Let's go and create another line here. I'm going to snap to that line, snap to that line, create a new line, snap to this line, snap to that line, finishes. I have lines. They form a closed polygon, but they are not split here. So when I say create seed, it actually will go and create a seed for me. The lines in the parcel fabric do not have to be split anymore. They just have to be associated with the record. Okay. If I wanted to go and split them all, how would I do that? I could go and select those lines. And go back here and only select those lines. And then I can do a planarize, and it will split them all up for me. So they're actually now individual lines in here. All right, but it does not have to be as far as the conditions. It just means that that line has to be on the boundary of a polygon. All right. I think I'm going to stop talking here for a minute. For the day, actually. Like I said, I apologize for being so short today, but that was beyond my control. All right, homework tomorrow. We haven't had as much exclusion, so almost every, or excuse me, not tomorrow, next week. We haven't had as much exclusion, so almost everybody's going to participate. We're going to meet next Tuesday again. Is that correct? Correct. Same time, same link. So we're in the same place. Do me a favor and experiment, test, and see what you can do, what you have problems with, all of that. All right, and let's see what you can come up with, new questions. If you have a question, by the way, that means that you don't have to go and give me an answer for your homework. That lets me know that you've tried something. Okay. Any other questions? Any comments about today? Hopefully you learned something today. Any comments? Any clarification you needed for today's training?
Frank, I did send an email out to folks. Tax lot line and a couple other feature classes have source type. That was leftover data from a conversion process. If you just select all those features in calc source type equal to none, capital N O N E, that should fix your domain issue. Sorry about that.
Hey, that's all right. That's all right. No judgment on that. And I'm used to using people's data all the time, and just want to point out those things that they might want to go and clean up and change somehow. That's all.
And the script I found that converts annotation to the feature class, the line feature classes, actually is an AML script I wrote for coverages in 2001. So it was a little bit ago. It seems like yesterday. So anyways, I'll play around with that for those that are interested. It's just not going to be this week. But creating a script should go pretty quick.
Yeah, like I said, I've just used the geoprocessing tool using feature to point, because it goes and captures all the attribution of the ANO and moves that over. So
really, that's all the script is going to do.
That's all. Yeah, it's all it does, and just moves it over, makes it a point, and you then start using it from there.
It just it'll delete the feature class if the new feature class that exists beforehand, and there may be some things that we want to do with subclasses with the points. I don't know. So there's some little things, but essentially, yeah, it's just going to run the feature to point.
And a subclass, you actually have an annotation class in there. You can use that
Yeah.
go and make the selections. And if you want to go and export them out to separate point feature classes, you can do that. There's a lot of things you can do. Yeah. All right. Any other quick, go ahead. Sorry, Dean.
No, I'm good.
Okay. I heard somebody breathing in, meaning they wanted to say something.
Well, I was just going to tell Dean that Ben may already have something functional if you wanted to check with him about that.
Yeah. Good.
Did you say Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Lay, the
Yeah,
JS specialist for Washington County.
I can reach out to him too, since I was the one who was asking about it.
He was actually supposed to be in this class, but he's been out the past couple of days. So
Right on. Okay.
So next week, I'm also going to talk about the labeling that's going on. We will also work through the rest of the tools, and we will work through all of these workflows on here, including things like how do you process an entire subdivision? How do you go and do that? And distributing, we're going to go over again some of these tools and help make sure that we understand all of them. All right. Hopefully you're getting something out of here and getting a better understanding and better clarification on ArcGIS Pro. Yeah. All right.
Can I ask one question? Was
Go
there
ahead.
any plan? I haven't gone through the entire slide deck. To go over the custom ORMAP tools, like the arrow tools, the cancel numbers, that stuff.
So in fact, if you look at the end of the deck, because I'm actually, there's the ORMAP tasks in here and the tools, because I actually haven't gone and done any of those. I've tested them. I've watched the videos. I'm more referring. Here's the tasks that are in here. And then I'm actually referring to the videos that Dean put together, because he did a really good job on them, on how to go and do the tax lot anno and the dim anno and Carto lines and produce the maps. I did not, again, I think that those people that put those together are really the experts on them, not me. So even me fumbling through and demoing it isn't going to help much. Just look to them on it. But we can go over those videos if you want. They're just short videos, and we can talk about them and see what sort of issues you might have. And hopefully Dean will be here and he'll be able to go over them himself and review that.
Yeah, we could have a short discussion. I don't want to take away from the things that, we've got you. So we want to take advantage of all the things that you're an expert at. We can do a follow-up tools meeting. There's a couple different ways that we can do that. If there's time at the end, I'm quickly bringing up my calendar. Then this would probably be next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday just before noon. And unfortunately, next Wednesday before noon, I'm going to be in a broadband meeting. So I apologize. But yeah, I have this other job I have to do. But Tom, we can follow that up. I'm hoping to have a tools committee meeting sometime in early September. And maybe that's a time we just can set some time aside to review the tools again.
Yeah, it's the tools themselves are one thing. It's sort of more thinking along the lines of establishing workflows around the tools that integrate with the great things that Frank has been talking about. But no worries, we'll figure it out. And yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, so and again, it's my understanding that if you follow the workflows that I lay out and populate the correct attributes, those tools work great. But what I'm not completely sure of is what are the attributes that it's actually pulling from for some of those tasks and such. And that's where Dean is actually really required, or the people that were working on the tools themselves. What fields have to be populated for those things to work well? And there's only a couple fields in there, but we do want to know what fields those are, and make sure that we note those. Make sure you populate those fields to go and do that.
And Frank, if we did that early in the meeting or earlier in the day on, well, let's see. No, we can do, I'll just mark it in my calendar right now so nothing gets written on top of it, but we could do Wednesday, 11 to 12. I can move that meeting. So we can come and have that discussion if that's okay. Again, I
let's
don't
hope-
want to take away.
Let's hope we can do it before 11, before you have to go to that meeting. So, all right.
Yeah, I'll just, no, that meeting's movable. It's not a big deal.
Okay, good. All right, well, again, don't forget your homework for next time. Make sure and hopefully no one goes and says, don't use Comcast for your internet service. But yeah.
I do have one really quick question, just because I was playing around with I was just continuing to do some more work on it.
Sure.
So my line parcels tool just seems like the line button has been grayed out every time I've been trying to reproduce it, and I'm not sure why.
Okay, yeah, so I'll real quickly go in and tell you again. I've got a record here. Let's go ahead and create let's create a parcel as fast as we can. All right, we'll create a parcel. Go ahead and build this out. We now have a parcel. If I go to a line, all right, I now have a parcel. Note, not there, not there. It creates a buffer, 5-foot buffer. Again, not aligned. How do I get this thing to start? Again, best practice is make sure that it's contiguous somewhere. But even without that, the first thing you want to do is you want to generate the links on here. All right, let it try to generate a link. There are no links. There are no links here yet. So I can go and add that. Yeah, maybe it's on that point. I can tell it to generate the links. Oh, I hate to say it requires, because I've actually had it done when it doesn't require one. The recommendation is you create at least one anchor on there. All right. And then once you have an anchor, add an anchor point. Then you can go and generate the links, and suddenly it can do that. Another place where people have problems is it's only searching, that generator is only searching inside of this area here, this tolerance. So might be times when you have to go and make it bigger than that. All right. So if you make it bigger than that, remember I said this is 2 tools. All right. Go and make sure that you feed this top tool, and also make sure you feed the bottom tool, and say, oh, let's make sure that that's there. Let's generate these links. And then suddenly now it looks inside the tolerance, and it only looks inside the tolerance. Okay. If I had these both at the same time, that would not be an anchor. But best practice, whatever you make this before you generate it again. Got it? You like that?
Absolutely. That was the one thing I was missing.
That's the secret. That's it. Make sure, you have at least one anchor, set your tolerance, and then make sure that your bottom, the point to edge snapping, also has that same tolerance, and then tell it to generate these links, and it will go and show it to you. All right. And again, remember, whatever is selected gets moved.
I'm so glad you asked that, because I was having the same thing happening. I thought, I'll do it after class and figure out what's going on.
Nope. And I
so glad.
apologize. Often I remember, okay, that's it. But it's one of those little things where it's like, you struggle when you first start, because it just has these requirements that you have to do. But yep, an
Thank you,
anchor,
Frank.
wide enough tolerance, make sure you match it. Those 3 things more than anything. And then suddenly you can do this. All right. Everybody have a great weekend. And I will put this recording back over there in the folder when I'm done with this. And again, I will see you next Wednesday. Have your questions or have those issues that you had, and we can move forward. Like I said, thank you all. And again, have a great weekend. Stay cool out there if you're, all right,
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
thanks.